With me is the President of Tibetan Govt in Exile, Penpa Tsering. So welcome to WION. It's pleasure to speak to you. The last time WION spoke to you was in Dharamshala, this time here in Delhi. And the conversation coming in the backdrop of the signing of the Resolve Tibet Act by the US President. So essentially, starting with this signing, how do you see this signing by the US President of this bill, which has now become a law?
Now, for the first time, of course, Chinese government has been asking every government to say Tibet is part of PRC. And every time they say that there is not a single country who recognizes the independent status of Tibet historically. So for the first time, this will be put into question because the Resolve Tibet Act talks about the first point, of course, is that Tibet is still an unresolved conflict and it should be resolved under international law. The second is that Tibetan people have the right to self-determination. And third, which is from our perspective, the most important is to counter China's disinformation on Tibetan history, its people, and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And it also says that the US government does not recognize China's assertion that Tibet has been part of China since ancient times. And the fourth element of the bill is to describe Tibet territorially, which is not just the Tibet Autonomous Region as China wants to see it or would like the world to believe it. It also includes all the other Tibetan areas in Qinghai, Sichuan, Gansu, Yunnan provinces. So this is, in a way, challenging China's narrative on Tibet. And it's very, very important for us because we look at this from the perspective of gaining value for the middle way policy, which was proposed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to seek a non-violent, mutually beneficial, negotiated solution that could be long-lasting. Because violence does not bring peace. But violence begets more violence, just as Mahatma Gandhi ji said, an eye for an eye will make the whole world blind. So we believe in non-violence. And the only way to bring China to the negotiating table or on the negotiating table is to pressure them from the international community if they are not responding in the manner they should.
So this is primarily a US law, which of course has been signed, it has been passed. How does this US law change the situation for you, for the Tibetan government in exile, for the Tibetan diaspora? In terms of any penal provisions, are we looking at China? How does it impact the situation on the ground in terms of the substance of the law?
On the ground, if you have read President Biden's White House statement post-signing of the bill that has now turned to an act, the position of the US government in relation with China on Tibet, the present position remains the same. Historical aspect, now they have taken a position. So for us, it's a new instrument in our hand, one step forward in resolving the Sino-Tibet conflict. And with this new instrument, now we have to see how we can reach out to other like-minded countries around the world, particularly democratic free world, to take similar lines depending on the political system of that country and its relation with China. We'll have to work in different ways how to get this around internationally.
So you're going to reach out to other countries to pass such kind of law, if I'm correct, if I understood you well?
No, that is why I said depending on the political system and that nation's relationship with China will have to work around things, because every country, you have in North America alone, you have the presidential system in the United States and you have the parliamentary system or the Westminster system in Canada. So we have to work different ways. It's not the same way how we work in the United States with Canada. So just like Canada also, you have a lot of democracies also, but then democracies also have different features in different countries. So depending on studying all these situations, now we can say that we have somebody to share the burden with. So once this has become a law already, Now it's bound on the US State Department also to counter China's false narrative. And the law also says that they will work with like-minded countries to take similar positions. Now we'll have to see in which countries the US has more influence and where we also enjoy some kind of a relation, so that we can pool in our effort and try to convince other governments to take similar positions, whether it's in the form of law or a resolution or a statement or communique, whatever is suitable to that country's relationship with China and its own political system.
Have you reached out to any country so far? Have you indicated?
Yes, we have indicated. Yes, I mentioned this several times, that it took 2 years and 2 months for us to get it up to here, to pass a law in the United States. So during the process, we have also been reaching out to a lot of countries, and we have mentioned to them that this is going on in the United States, and once it becomes a law, then we'll be coming and reaching out to you.
Any list of countries? Any names you?
We can maybe start from Canada, then in because the only countries that we can reach out to are the free world, so mostly European countries and Far East.
So now moving on to something we saw recently, the visit of the US delegation, the senators, the congressmen who came to Dharamshala and met His Holiness as well. How do you see this visit as in terms of the increased engagement between the American Congress, the US Congress, and the Tibetan government in exile, and how does it strengthen your position?
This is not the first time a US delegation is coming to Dharamsala. In fact, Speaker Pelosi, just after she assumed her speakership in 2007, was in Dharamsala. Then she was again in Dharamsala when I was representative in Washington, D.C. in 2017, May. And this time the delegation, for the first time, is being led by a Republican, Michael McCall, who is the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. And then, of course, Speaker Pelosi, the Speaker Emerita Nancy Pelosi was there, Shimakawan was there. So it was altogether 7 members, 4 from Democrat side and 3 from Republican side. And it does signify how much importance they attach to the Sino-Tibet dispute. It's not planned in the manner that others would like to see, but it all happened around the same time that the bill got passed, it got reconciled with the Senate version, and by the time they came, they already had a copy of that bill to present it to His Holiness as a token of gift from the US Congress as to what they have done for us. And at this point of time, the effort that we try to make with the cooperation of all the Tibetans and non-Tibetans in the United States, with our leadership, of course, as by changing the strategy to gain leverage or value for the middle way, and also be able to take the Tibetan youths, other youths who are seeking independence also. So this is a strategy from the CTA side to make it inclusive, and then in the United States, of course, we enjoy both bicameral and bipartisan support. That has been very encouraging over the years through Republican presidency or Democratic presidency. So this is a huge push for us because of the change or the shift in their position. That puts us in a much better position to be able to reach out to other countries and then put pressure on China to come and negotiate with us.
So last time we met in Dharamshala, you said that there are conversations, there are back-channel conversations between the Tibetan government in exile and the Chinese government. Immediately we saw a Chinese reaction, they're dismissing it. What is the current status? Are there any conversations? What is your reaction on the Chinese dismissal?
China does not acknowledge too many things. They are always in denial mode. Whether you talk about BYD, EV vehicles, overcapacity, they say we don't have overcapacity, we are not doing this, we are not doing that, hegemonistic ambitions in the region. So even with our case also earlier in 2002, 2001, when we restarted or when we began some kind of a dialogue with the Chinese also, initially they said, the Special Envoy of His Holiness Lodi Gyari and Kyasan Kyanse, they came to meet with their family members, so Chinese are always in a denial mode, and they always like to have the upper hand in everything. They can dictate, you know. So that is why when you see all these interactions, when it comes to United States, they always complain that they're not being treated equal. But then the problem is, how does China also treat India as equal in the Asian subcontinent? You know, and forget about us, will they treat us equal? So those are a lot of issues that has a lot of psychological attitude that China has, that they are the middle kingdom, that everybody is under them and they should follow our diktat, not the other way around. So I think those need to be demystified.
So are there any talks happening, any back channel talks happening?
It is there, still there.
Any last round?
Nothing concrete, as I mentioned. If you ask me, if there is back channel, I do admit there is back channel. If you ask me, is there anything substantive going on, I say no, there's nothing substantive. And if you ask me, do you have expectations? Right now, if you look at what Xi Jinping is doing to Hong Kong, to Tibetans, to Uyghurs, to Mongols, even its bellicosity towards Taiwan, to its own people, it doesn't look very likely that we can have anything concrete right now, or anything positive right now. But then if you ask me, even if you have no expectation, why do you engage with them? Then I always said, Sino-Tibet dispute or conflict is not a short-term thing. It's a long-term issue that we need to carry forward.
Any last round? When the last round happened?
The last happened by the beginning of this month.
So moving forward, we know that His Holiness is in United States. First, when is His Holiness expected to be back to the Dharamshala? Secondly, any meetings planned with the US President?
The return of His Holiness to India is not fixed. It will depend largely on His Holiness' health. Right now, His Holiness, considering his age, is recuperating very well, just as anybody else who has gone through knee surgery. His Holiness will also have to go through 3-4 weeks of physiotherapy, which is going on. So, responding to the next part of the question, there is nothing fixed yet. There are a lot of speculations in the United States. Even before His Holiness left from here, it had already been politicized. The Politico wrote saying President Biden should meet with His Holiness because of his electoral commitment and all that. Another newspaper writes saying His Holiness should not meet with President Biden because if President Trump wins again, then there might be a problem. So those things keeps happening, but from our perspective, from our side, focus is on His Holiness' recovery, and as and when His Holiness gets better, and if there are requests from other quarters, because there will also be, if it is a meeting concerned with the President of the United States, there will be protocols also. Earlier times when His Holiness met with Bush Sr., with Clinton, Bush Jr., Obama, and all that, all those meetings happened in the White House.
So we know that the United States goes to elections this year, and right now the favorite looks like Donald Trump. What's your thought about a Trump presidency and the support by the US government to the Tibetan cause?
Just like in India, whether it's BJP or Congress or any other government alliance, a coalition government that comes into the center, everybody has been very, very kind to the Tibetans on humanitarian issues and other issues. So similarly, in the United States also right now, because of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and our non-violent struggle, we enjoy bipartisan support and bicameral support. So we are not concerned about, well, of course we don't want to be involved in US politics, whoever comes in. I would like to believe that even during the 4 years of President Trump's presidency, before President Biden's presidency, we had a good relationship, and I'm sure this will continue.
So, talking about India-China relationship largely, and you have seen how China has been very aggressive with India. Now, China has recently come out with names of places in Indian territory in Arunachal Pradesh. How do you see that as?
China always says that they are not hegemonistic. They don't have hegemonistic ambition. They are not colonizers. But what they have done to Tibet is part of that hegemonistic ambition way back some 65 years ago. And what they are trying to do now is also hegemonistic. I told one of our US friends some 8-9 years ago when China decided to announce this air defense identification zone, I said when China claims the air, they will claim everything under that, water, sea or land, which has exactly happened. So China claims all this. So it's not only with Arunachal Pradesh. Of course, they have renamed Tibet also as Xizang to remove all the historical background to that name, and also derive different political connotations to that, saying that, you know, if you say Xizang, then it's only Tibet Autonomous Region, not the other regions. So similarly, they have started renaming in Arunachal Pradesh. They are using the Chinese name for the Senkaku Islands in Japan, and Taiwan, and even Spratlys. They have in all parts of South China Sea, wherever they claim, they have renamed into Chinese. So it's not only with India, but it's their larger hegemonistic ambition, which they keep denying. So that is why China's image around the world is not respected. They are not being truthful, you know, so they are not to be trusted. And it is their own creation. And this is not benefiting China or any of its neighboring countries, because it's also exacerbating the defense expenditures of all these countries because of Chinese behavior.
When it comes to the Indian support for the Tibetan cause, if you can talk about that, and also when it comes to the reincarnation of His Holiness, I mean, have you had any conversations with the Indian side? What one can expect?
No, not on reincarnation, of course, but then we do realize that the Indian government is also very concerned about that. I'm sure they must be doing their internal discourses on this matter. But from our side, we have been very clear. We have come out with a 6-point statement, and we have also mentioned about developing protocols, you know, things like that. So all these are going on, yes.
90th birthday of His Holiness next year. Anything significant on reincarnation we can expect?
That I don't know, because the only document that we have is September 2011 document on His Holiness, which also talks about when His Holiness reaches the age of 90, he might take certain decisions. But even now, I say when His Holiness reaches the age of 90, and if he feels fit and you know, robust, then he might even say it's too early. Because one thing that China cannot handle is unpredictability. So as long as His Holiness the 14th Dalai Lama is alive, there is nothing the Chinese government can do about his reincarnation. So it's all in His Holiness' hands, and he has kept it very open. It's not decided or anything. He could take some decisions, he may not. It could be both ways. So let's wait for.
So my last comment, in fact questions, concluded remarks as well for you. We saw Nancy Pelosi there in Dharamshala, and she made an interesting statement. She said that the Chinese President Xi Jinping, nobody will remember him, but the legacy of His Holiness will be there. You were in fact present there when the public reception happened. WION was also present. How do you see these comments as?
So you do anything bad, people will remain the evil side of that person in history, that that person has committed these crimes. His Holiness, he spent all his life for the benefit of others. So it can be nothing further from the truth of what Nancy Pelosi had said. And this was picked widely by the Indian media. And that is the reality, that is the truth. The world remembers good deeds of people and then denounces the bad deed of people. And if President Xi Jinping continues in that direction, then he will be remembered as a bad person in history. That's for sure.
Well, on that note, thank you so much, sir, for speaking to WION. It's a pleasure speaking to you always, sir.
Thank you so much, Siddhant.
Thank you, sir.